Chapter 5. Natural Law versus Supernatural Miracle. One of the strongholds of the atheistic fraternity, considered as a proselyting agency, consists in their ability and their propensity to fright the souls of fearful adversaries by the employment of certain stock words and phrases. Experience has taught them that there is a very large and growing class of people who desire above all things to be considered scientific. They have also discovered that this class can be stampeded into a belief in almost any kind of absurdity if it bears a scientific label, or if they are told that it is unscientific to believe otherwise. Superstition and supernatural are also very potent scare words, and many a poor, timid, would-be scientist has been driven to cover by being told that if he believes in God he is superstitious, and that if he presumes to believe in an intelligent antecedent cause of the phenomena of mind, he is a believer in the supernatural. Miracle is another word of wonderful potency in the vocabulary of atheistic proselytism, and when it is reinforced by prefixing the word supernatural, it is expected to be well-nigh irresistible. Hence it was that Professor Haeckel did not neglect to close his so-called argument for spontaneous generation with the usual formula, which, reduced to its simplest terms, is this: if you don't believe in spontaneous generation, you have got to believe in a supernatural miracle. This, of course, is equivalent to a declaration that, even supposing an intelligent deity to exist, he could not be the cause of the phenomena of life without violating or transcending a law of nature. To say that this is another of the pure assumptions of atheism is putting it in the mildest possible terms. This, again, is the very question at issue between the atheistic and the theistic evolutionist. Is it necessary to presuppose a supernatural miracle as the only alternative to a belief in spontaneous generation? In order to answer that question, we must first define the word miracle. Webster's definition is an event or effect contrary to the established constitution and course of things, or a deviation from the known laws of nature, a supernatural event. The definition of the Standard Dictionary is as follows: theo, an event in the natural world, but out of its established order, and possible only by the intervention and exertion of divine power, a supernatural event. Now, postulating, for the time being, the existence of an intelligent deity, a great first cause of all things, what would it be necessary to prove in order to bring the phenomena of life, as shown in the Mon era, within the domain of the supernatural? 3 things are necessary, namely: 1. It must be shown that those phenomena are events in the natural world. 2. That they are out of the established order. 3. That they were possible only by the intervention and exertion of divine power. It will be seen at a glance that but one of the conditions is fulfilled, namely, the beginning of life, as shown in the Moneran, was an event in the natural world. But it would be difficult to show that it was out of the established order. Indeed, it would be difficult to show that the beginning of anything was out of the established order. This alone takes the event out of the category of miracle, no matter what the theory of causation may be. For if there is any event in any series that is ex necessitate in its established order, it is the initial event. Again, it would be found quite difficult to show that, under the theistic hypothesis, the beginning of life was possible only by the intervention and exertion of divine power. Intervention means the act of intervening or coming between, the state of being interposed, interposition. The intervention and exertion of divine power, in endowing the Moneran with organic life, would therefore be a special act of creation, and, in order to show that it was miraculous, it must be shown that it was possible only by an act of special creation, out of the established order. In other words, it would be necessary to show that divine power is unequal to the task of establishing a law of evolutionary development, in pursuance of which organic life could have a beginning or a progressive development without the necessity of an occasional miracle to correct that wherein the original plan was defective. It will thus be seen that the element of miracle or special creation is necessarily absent. First, because the beginning of life could not have been out of the established order. Secondly, because a miracle within the established order of nature is a contradiction in terms. And, thirdly, because the alleged necessity for a miracle implies a being of deficient intelligence and limited powers. The established order of development is the very antithesis of miracle, and the latter can be assumed only when it is shown that something has been created out of that order. For instance, if it could be shown that a marsupial or a monkey or an agnostic was created first or out of its order, a miracle might be posited and its wisdom questioned. But the natural or established order of development proclaims the reign of intelligence and law. The position of the atheistic evolutionist may therefore be restated as follows: organic life, mind, and intelligence, with all their implications and potentialities, were spontaneously generated from inorganic matter, or else they were specially created by a being of inferior intelligence and limited powers, by means of a supernatural miracle. I have already shown that the agnostics are confessedly without facts that point in the direction of spontaneous generation, and that they are confessedly compelled by necessity to assume that hypothesis as the only logical avenue of escape from the acknowledgement of the existence of an intelligent cause of the phenomena of life and mind. But by what logical right they assume that an intelligent cause of those phenomena is necessarily a being of limited intelligence does not appear from their writings. We must therefore infer that that conclusion is also a pure assumption, and one that is unrelieved by the mitigating excuse of necessity. There is, in fact, no more logical necessity for supposing a miracle to be necessary in order to endow protoplasm with life and mind under the theistic hypothesis than there is for classing spontaneous generation as a supernatural process. Nor as much, for the latter would be an event clearly out of the natural order, so far as man is able to judge from any facts in his possession. That is to say, we know of no facts which give us a right to suppose that organic life and mind can have their origin in inorganic matter. But the universe is full of evidence that mind is only acquired by inheritance from an antecedent mind endowed with attributes and powers identical in kind with those inherited. We also know that there is no miracle in inheritance, and we have every right to suppose, judging by all the facts in our possession, that there is no antecedent mind in inorganic matter from which the mental organism of the moneron could have been inherited. There is, therefore, no a priori reason for positing a miracle on the assumption of an antecedent mind force or energy in the universe from which the moneron derived its peculiar powers. On the contrary, we must suppose that the advent of mind upon this planet was in pursuance of a natural law, at least until evidence to the contrary is found of sufficient weight to destroy our confidence in the constancy of nature. In the ensuing chapters of this book we will institute a quest for that law, if haply we may feel after it, and find it, though, literally, it is not far from each one of us.